Hello students, welcome to the first virtual English language class for the SS2 students of Sleek Angels International School. This is your English teacher, Mrs. Cynthia Okechukwu, and I'm so delighted, so happy to be doing this. I believe that this virtual class will go a long way to helping many of us get accustomed to using our internet, using our smartphones, using our laptops to study, and not just, for typing messages to friends and all that, for chatting and all that. So I'm so glad to be bringing this lesson to you. Okay, this class is not an interactive class. It's not interactive in the sense that I don't get your feedbacks immediately. Okay, but then at the end of the lesson, you're going to see my WhatsApp number, my email address, where you can send in your questions, send in your comments, and I'll gladly respond. I'll also be giving you some assignments, a little assignment to work on based on what we're about to study, and I hope that I can actually get your feedbacks on time. Okay, today's lesson is punctuation marks, and we'll be going right into it now. But before we do that, I hope you're staying safe. It is important that you stay safe. That is why you are home. That is why I am at home and teaching you from the house and not standing in front of you in school. Coronavirus is real, people. It is very, very real. So many people around the world have contracted the disease. Some have even died. I've been listening to the news. I've been hearing so many stories of people who have lost family members, friends, loved ones because of this virus. Now, this diagram you have on the screen is just giving you a little fact about what the coronavirus is all about, where it started from, the symptoms. If you enlarge the screen a bit, you're going to see it actually started in China, and some of the symptoms, how it is transmitted and how you can prevent contracting the disease. It is really important that you follow every safety tip given to ensure that you and your loved ones do not contract this disease, because I want to see you back in school. I love you all and I want you all back in school with me. So try as much as possible to wash your hands, stay safe. If you have to leave the house, encourage mommy and daddy to buy masks for you if you have to leave the house and all that. And then if you know anyone at all who's going through these symptoms that we have just seen, please tell mom and dad to see that the person goes to the hospital immediately. In our next class, I'll probably bring you some breaking news about the virus, just so that you can be abreast of what is happening. All right, now let's go straight to our class, our topic for today, punctuation marks. Now what I have there is punctuation marks. Are they really important? Yes, they are. And you might ask me, Mrs. Cynthia, why are they so important? Why must I use punctuation marks when I'm writing? They're important because punctuation marks will help to deliver the message you want to deliver across to the person clearly, across to your audience, across to the person you want to deliver the message to, or you are sending the message to. So the use of punctuation marks will help whoever is reading what you have written to understand what you've written clearly. It's really important. When you write and you do not punctuate properly, or you do not punctuate at all, then there is a problem, because you don't send across the message you are supposed to be sending across. You think you are sending across the message, but you're actually not sending across the message. The person reading it is not understanding what you are saying. Now, somebody who is well versed with the usage of punctuation marks, or someone who understands the English language properly, might be able to understand what you are saying, but sometimes it's actually difficult, especially when you don't punctuate. So that's why we're looking at punctuation marks. I know you have studied punctuation marks probably in the primary school and all that, and a little maybe in the secondary school when you started in JSS1, 2 or 3, 2 and 3, and SS1. But then we're going into an in-depth study of it, looking at it closely, or closer rather. We're looking at it closer and how it's used. Now let's look at these sentences on the screen. Sentence number 1, let's eat grandpa. Let's eat grandpa. And then sentence number 2, let's eat grandpa. You see, these two sentences do not mean the same thing. And the difference is the punctuation mark used somewhere. Now the first one, let's eat grandpa, that's rather morbid. We don't eat human beings. That's a morbid statement. And then the next one, let's eat grandpa, suggesting that you probably want to have a snack, dinner, lunch, whatever, and you're inviting grandpa to come join you eat. So, although they have the same words, these sentences do not mean the same thing. Number 3, I'd like to thank my parents, Tiffany and God. I'd like to thank my parents, Tiffany and God. And then number 4 says, I'd like to thank my parents, Tiffany and God. These two sentences have the same words, but they don't mean the same thing. The first sentence is saying, I'd like to thank my parents, Tiffany and God, suggesting that your parents are Tiffany and God. But then the next sentence says, I'd like to thank my parents, Tiffany and God. Now, we're talking about 4 people, parents, dad and mom, Tiffany, aunt, sister, or somebody, and then finally, God. So you can see that even though these sentences have the same words, they don't mean the same thing because of the punctuation marks used in them. So are punctuation marks really important? I leave you to answer that question on your own. But I think it is safe to say they are important. Okay. Now, here are some important definitions that you need to know. Punctuation. What is punctuation? Now, punctuation is a set of marks that regulates and clarifies the meanings of different texts. They regulate and they clarify. Regulate and clarify the meanings of different texts. Now, this clarification is done by using the marks to link or separate words, phrases, or clauses. So if the clarification is not done, the message that will be passed across, you will not understand it. It will not be clear. So, and the marks used in this regulation and clarification are what we know as punctuation marks. Now remember the sentences from the previous slide. Let's eat grandpa. Let's eat grandpa. The presence of the comma after it in sentence number 2 differentiates sentence number 2 from sentence number 1. And so they do not mean the same thing. Now the presence, they have the same words, but they don't mean the same thing. Now the presence of the commas after parents and Tiffany in sentence number 4 helps to change the meaning of the sentence number 3. I'd like to thank my parents, Tiffany and God. I'd like to thank my parents, Tiffany and God. So punctuation marks are very important. They are used to regulate, they are used to clarify, they are used to send the message you want to send across in a very clear way so that you understand. Apart from the fact that you want to, write your final exams and pass, it is also important that these sentences, when you are writing, because you don't know which field, or most of you, not that you don't know, but most of you have already chosen your areas of study in the university. And like I keep telling you, there is no field of study where you will not write. If you're a medical doctor, sometimes you make reports. If you're an engineer, you need to make reports. If you You need to write. Sometimes you have to write proposals and all that. Whatever field you find yourself, if you can use the English language properly, it will go a long way to showing your level of professionalism. So it's important that you know these things. Okay, let's move on. Now, these punctuation marks, there are so many, but these are the ones that I think we can handle, or we should handle, or that mean something. These are the ones I think you will need at this point in time. And also, these are the punctuation marks that you are required to learn or to study and to use at this point. The full stop, comma, colon, semicolon, question mark, round brackets, square brackets, quotation marks, apostrophe, ellipsis points, exclamation mark, the underline, hyphen, and virgule. Okay, let's move on. I know you know all this already, so let's move on. Now, these punctuation marks, we can further divide them into three. Okay, we can further divide them into three. Terminal punctuation. Okay, terminal punctuation. The terminal punctuation we will go into that. That's the one we're going to be looking at for today. The terminal punctuation, full stop, question mark, exclamation point. We have the pauses, and then we have others. Okay, so let's not waste time. Let's go straight into terminal punctuation. Now, terminal punctuation, you can see the terminal punctuation marks there. We have the exclamation points, we have the question mark, and then we have the full stop. Now, the full stop is placed at the end of complete sentences and after many abbreviations. Look at sentence number 1. Sharon and Dobra went to the market. That's it. It's a statement. The presence of the full stop there shows you that this is a sentence. This is a statement. It's a complete sentiment. They went to the market. And so the full stop is used at the end of the statement. Now, another sentence. Her son, Prince Henry Ifekwe Jr., was born on December 6, 2008. Now, the full stop here is used. This sentence is actually a complete sentence. So the full stop is used at the end, after 2008. The full stop is used there. But also note that the full stop was used or is used after Junior. There's a full stop there before the comma. And after December, there's a full stop there. That JR indicates Junior, to show that Junior has been abbreviated to JR and December has been abbreviated to DEC. Okay, so the full stop is used at the end of the statement and after many abbreviations. So many abbreviations. That's when we use the full stop. Okay, following the full stop, another terminal punctuation is the question mark. And this is placed at the end of direct questions. Now it says indirect questions are regarded as statements, and so usually, but not always, take full stops at their ends. Now, indirect question is another topic on its own. We're not going to go into that now. But just know that when you ask a direct question or when you write a direct question, there must be a question mark after that, after it. It's important. I see so many students write questions. Sometimes they forget to put question marks after the questions, and this is wrong, because when you are passing this message across to someone, if the person does not understand that you have asked a question, the person will not be able to answer the question. So it's important that when you have asked your question, please indicate that this is a question by putting a question mark. That's all I can say. Okay, look at the examples there. Have you had breakfast? That's a direct question. Have you had breakfast? Where are you going? Where are you going? Sometimes when students want to ask questions in quick successions, they forget to put the question marks. And this is absolutely wrong. You should be very, very, very careful with this. Okay, then moving on, the exclamation points. The exclamation point indicates excitement. either positive or negative. It can also be used for additional emphasis to sentences, phrases, or single words, especially to commands and interjections. Okay. Simply put, when you are excited, put an exclamation mark after you've written the word that shows your excitement or the sentence that shows your excitement. Wait! Don't take another step. You're emphasizing. This is an emphasis. You're emphasizing something. Okay. I don't believe she could say that. Okay. You're indicating something here. So always use an exclamation point at the end of statements that show excitement, when you want to emphasize something, a sentence, a phrase, or a single word. Now, there's something else I need to let you all into. Now, like I said, these are terminal punctuation marks. The exclamation mark, the question mark, and the full stop. Terminal, which means they are used to end or at the end of sentences, statements, etc. and etc. Now, when you have used them at the end of sentences, the next sentence that comes up after these sentences with either an exclamation mark, a question mark, or a full stop must start with a capital letter. This is very important. So many students make this mistake. You're writing an essay, you end your essay, or you're writing an essay, and in the process of writing an essay, there's a question there. After you have indicated that it's a question, you just continue without starting the next sentence with a capital letter. That is wrong. Once you see an exclamation point, once you see a question mark or a full stop, just know that the next sentence that comes after this should begin with a capital letter. If you look there at this sentence, wait, don't take another step. You can see that wait, there's an exclamation point there. That is terminal. The next thing that comes up is don't take another step, and don't starts with a capital D. So this is really, really very important. Now, someone will say, Mrs. Cynthia, how come the example, her son, Prince Henry Ifekwe Jr., was born on December 6th? You should know that December, even though abbreviated, is a proper noun. And because it's a proper nouns begin with capital letters wherever they are found in sentences. So this is an exception to, these rules. Okay? All right. Let's move on. Now let's do some practice on our own. I want you to write it down, or as I read along, just know where to insert either the question mark, the full stop, or the exclamation point. The sun rises in the east, it sets in the west. The sun rises in the east, it sets in the west. I am going to the supermarket, do you want to come along? We'll get in touch with you when we have a job opening. Why are you still here? I told you to get out. What is your teacher's name? Hey, watch out for that car. My grandmother lives across the street from the school. Sotonye asked, will you take me to the mall? Come here right now. Now let me give you a little time, maybe like 5 seconds, to look at it and know where to insert the correct punctuation marks. Okay, I think we can go on and look at the answers now. The sun rises in the east, it sets in the west. You can see that the way I am even reading this is different from the way I read the questions. I'm going to the supermarket. Do you want to come along? We will get in touch with you when we have a job opening. Why are you still here? I told you to get out. What is your teacher's name? Hey, Watch out for that car. My grandmother lives across the street from the school. Sotonye asked, will you take me to the mall? Come here right now. So the punctuation marks have been inserted. You can see they are in a different color. I use the red color to indicate the correct punctuation marks, where to insert the correct punctuation marks, just in case you do not understand. Now, if you look at this, it will help you to understand a little bit more what we're talking about. Okay, I hope you have enjoyed the class. That is a little class or a brief class on punctuation marks. Our next class will be coming up shortly, and I'll be taking other punctuation marks. But before then, here's an assignment for you. I want you to write out 10 sentences of your own, showing the correct usage of the full stop, question mark, and exclamation point. Please do not use the sentences I have used previously. No. Think of sentences of your own. Think of 10 sentences. That shouldn't be difficult. And just insert where the question mark, the full stop, and the exclamation point should be. And then you send your answers to my email here, sirafrica@gmail.com. And then my WhatsApp number is 080-8989-0203. Please note, do not write on your exercise books, take a picture and send. Most times it's not clear because sometimes the quality of our cameras are not as clear as we think they are. So what I would prefer that you do is just type it out and send it directly as a mail. Okay, if you're using WhatsApp, it's also easy. You can write it out on a piece of paper and then type it in WhatsApp and send to me, and let me know you are the one sending it to me. Let me know your name. Okay, all right. In our next class, we'll be looking at some of the other punctuation marks. We'll be looking at pauses, the comma, the colon, the semicolon, the dashes, the ellipses, and their functions, just like we have done for the terminal punctuation. Now, some people argue that, or it's not an argument actually, but it's right, that the full stop is also a pause. Yes, the full stop is a pause, but I think its role is much more, as a terminal punctuation mark than a pause. It's actually a pause because when you get to the end of a sentence, you have to take a little pause before you start the other sentence, which is true. So the full stop can also function as a pause. And then the ellipses as well. People say the ellipsis is also terminal. Well, it sometimes performs the role of a terminal punctuation, but we'll look at that in our next class. So thank you for listening in, and I cannot wait for the next class. Here's my email address again, sirafrica@gmail.com. Sir, that's SOEUR Africa@gmail.com. And my WhatsApp number is 080-8989-0203. Please, if you have questions, even before the assignments, you can send me your questions. I'll answer them immediately. If you have questions, if you have comments as well, if there are